the fifth chapter, which is the Sannyasa Yoga. So let's start with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunnilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swamarupakatamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gutapadakamayyam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saigana Raghunatha Tantam Sadharam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parigana Satam Krishna Chaitanya Dharam Shri Radha Krishna Pradhan Saigana Shri Shankaram Shri Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswate Dhame Gauravami Pracharame Nirvasesha Shamavadi Pakshaktadesha Dharimam Namo Mahavanyaya Krishna Prema Pudayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namo Krishna Namo Hare Krishna Karunasandho Dena Bandhoja Pate Gopesha Nipidahanta Vapa Kampan Namaste Bhakta Kanchana Gauda Radha Govinda Shri Shobhani Satyadevi Pavanami Haripriya Pancha Kalpatarubhisha Kripa Sindhya Charakapitanan Pavanipya Vashya Pavanam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadhguru Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the last class, we have completed the fourth chapter, which is about transcendental knowledge, and we started the fifth chapter. And in the fifth chapter, the first part is about a discussion between the contrast between karma yoga and karma sannyas. So the Krishna tells that actually both lead to the same goal, and those who can see the similarity in both of them are actually wise, and those who consider them as different, pruthak, are not wise, and or otherwise, and yeah, and the sannyas, like without karma, without doing karma yoga, if one takes karma sannyas, then it's very difficult to maintain it. And karma yoga is relatively easy because it involves action and engagement, and senses are engaged, so it's easy for one who is not purified. Okay. And after that, so then there is a description of the characteristics of a Nishkama Karma Yogi. So he becomes dear to everyone. And his characteristics are also described. Jitendriyaha, Jitatmanaha, and also Jitta Manas. Yeah. He conquers over his senses, mind and intelligence. And yeah, he's Padma Patra Ivambasa, and he does not incur any sin. So like this qualities are described. So we'll continue with it. And finally it comes like that he's happily situated in the body, which is like a city with 9 gates. So yeah, from that verse we will continue that. So let me share my screen. Yeah. So yeah, so here it is described that Naiva Kurvan na Kharayan. So there are two meanings for it. Naiva Kurvan means he is not acting for his own selfish enjoyment. So not thinking, so and not working for the sake of his own enjoyment, but nor causing any work to be done, means he is not thinking that because of him, others are able to work. Like if somebody is maintaining a family, oh, I am supplying all the food, all the necessities. That's why others are able to function. So he does not think himself even that also. So he considers himself as an instrument in the hands of karma, or maybe in Bhakti Yoga, in hands of Krishna. So if not him, then whatever is supposed to happen for others would have happened through someone else. So that way he will not be affected. Means that way he will not consider himself even as doer for the sake of others also. Okay. Yeah. So we will. No. So modes are the doers. Okay, so we'll start discussion from this verse. Okay, so I'll recite. Someone can follow first. नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभु
नादत्ते कश्चितं पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभो
अज्ञानेन आवृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवा
अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः.
Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge.
Prabhuji, can you close this left-hand side navigation? Please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, Prabhupada is explaining initially the word Vibhu. The Sanskrit word Vibhu means the Supreme Lord, who is full of unlimited knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. He is always satisfied in himself, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. Yeah. So our acharyas also describe it a little bit further. Vibhu means he is full of immeasurable bliss and knowledge, and full of unlimited energies, enjoying his own bliss and being indifferent to everything else. Okay. So this verse basically is making the point that though Krishna means though the absolute truth means Bhagavan is the controller of the system of karma and all, but he is not personally involved in causing someone, is favoring somebody or harming someone else for his own selfish reasons. He just executes the law, means as per the jiva's desire, he accordingly gives the results. So as per the jiva's actions, accordingly he gives the results. So he is not personally involved in causing anyone pain or causing anyone happiness. Okay, so let me read. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of action and reaction begins. A living entity is by superior nature full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he is prone to be influenced by ignorance due to his limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is Vibhu or omniscient, but the living entity is Anu or atomic. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of the particular situation which may be desired. Yeah. So, he is uh, only doing means, so the living entity only, because he is desiring it, the Lord is just granting it. So the living entity is only responsible for his actions. Being in a bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to the temporary misery and happiness of life. The Lord is the constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma or the super soul, and therefore he cannot understand the desires of the individual soul, as one can smell the fragrance of a flower by being near it. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Man proposes and God disposes. Yeah, the living entity may desire many things, but as per the piety and so accordingly, the Lord grants it. So, yeah, example can be given in a shop, like one may go to a mall, big mall and all, one may desire many things, but he can only purchase as per his capacity, means as per how much money he has, so only that much he can purchase, he can afford in the mall. So in the same way, uh, as per the pious credits, so whatever living entity may desire many things based on different modes and all, but as per the pious credits, whatever pious credits the living entity has accrued, only based on that Lord will fulfill those desires. The individual is not therefore omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of the minute independent living entities. Okay, then Prabhupada is telling a Krishna conscious perspective. So after that, Prabhupada is quoting some Shastric statements which apparently appear to say that Lord is responsible for everything of the jiva. So those statements, they have to be understood with respect to the verse, what Lord is saying in this verse, that he is not responsible. The Vedic statements therefore declare Esha o hi eva sadhu karma karayati tam yam ebhye lokebhya uninishate esha va eva sadhu karma karayati yam ado ninishate. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so that he may go to hell. Kaushitaki Upanishad 3.8. So, yes, so it is happening by the support of the Lord. Means the living entity himself is not capable to engage in those activities. He can only desire. But the Lord is supporting him. Without the support of the Lord, it cannot happen. So the Lord is only supplying all the resources, means all the, like if you see in the 15th chapter, in the Purushottam Yoga, so Lord says, no, I am supplying the light, I am supplying the fire. So without light, without fire, you cannot do any, like without light, eyes cannot work. And without fire, you cannot cook. So food you cannot take. And Lord is only the supplying the digestive fire to digest the food. So for the material enjoyment, means Lord is only providing all the resources, intelligence, and support, both for pious and impious activities. So that is the meaning of this statement. It does not mean that Lord is controlling the jiva and is with according to his whims, he's engaging him in either pious or impious activities. Not like exactly like that. It is the desire of the jiva. Similarly, the Mahabharata Vanaparva 31.27 states, Agnyo Jantur Anishoyam Atmana Sukha Dukkayo Ishvara Prerito Gachet Swargam Vasu Abram Evacha. The living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell, as a cloud is driven by the air. Yeah, so the same thing. So this statement of in the Mahabharata also has to be understood with respect to this verse also. Means both have to be considered, and then you have to resolve it, like the meaning. So then this is also same thing, that it is dependent on the distress, but it is not responsible. The living entity is dependent on the Lord, but the living entity is only responsible for his own actions and. Okay. Now, Prabhupada is like now quoting a Vedanta Sutra aphorism. This is given by Baldev Devushan, so which says that Lord is not partial. Vaishamya nairghranye na sapekshatvat tatahi darshayati. The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, though he appears to. Though he appears to, but it's not exactly. Yeah. So how Lord is impartial? Because Lord is engaged in unlimited spiritual bliss. and reciprocating with his devotees in spiritual world, also in material world. So that way, so because of that, he is detached from material world. So he's detached from material world. So he's impartial in managing karma, means in giving the results of their activities to different living entities. So Lord is impartial. Okay. So now in the next verse, further means how purification is happening, Lord is telling for the Nishkam Karma Yoga. Okay, so you'll read the verse. Jnanena tu tad ajnanam esham nashitam atmana
ज्ञानेन तु अज्ञानम् एष नाशित आत्मना
tesham adityavadhyanam prakashayati tatparam.
तेषाम् आदित्यवज ज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्.
Yeah. So two things are happening. Ajnanam nashitam means nescience is destroyed and truth is revealed. Prakashayati jnanam. Yeah. So initially he is acquiring theoretical knowledge, but through practice he is getting the understanding and also experiencing, means which is realization. So that is being pointed out here. Okay. The translation goes like this. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So initially, as we saw in the 4th chapter, so the Atma Gyan is acquired through study of scriptures and one also takes shelter and guidance of a spiritual master in Karma Yoga. So this destroys nescience. So spiritual master, main thing spiritual master plays is teaching about Paramatma, means teaching about the absolute truth. That knowledge one cannot acquire by himself. He should acquire it from a person who has already realized that knowledge. So he is the spiritual master. So by this, what happens? Nescience is destroyed. So the nescience, as Prabhupada going to point out in the purport, is like, no, I am body or no, I am God. So this misidentification, or considering that this whole world is meant for my enjoyment. So this is like nescience. And it also reveals truth. So what is the truth? Reveals the absolute truth. Means Brahman. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. And reveals the connection of absolute truth and the world. So one knows what is absolute truth, and one also learns to see the world as the energy of the absolute truth, and understands that it is meant for the service of the absolute truth, or for fulfilling the purpose of the absolute truth. So that way he accordingly engages the resources of the world for that purpose. Okay. So, yeah, we'll read this. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvam Jnana Plavena Jnanagni Sarva Karmani and Nahi Jnanena Sadasham. So these all things are from the previous chapter. The glories of transcendental knowledge. Knowledge is always highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna, as is said in the 7th chapter, 19th verse. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapate. After passing through many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him, as everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. So this also refers to the element of Bhakti in Karma Yoga. If one is practicing Bhakti Yoga, this statement is definitely the unless one, so that is like devotion is the whole sadhana. Even in Karma Yoga also, only means if that element of devotion is there, devotion to Vishnu is there, then only one achieves perfection. The living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he unceremoniously thinks himself God, he actually falls into the last snare of nescience. If a living entity is God, then how can he become bewildered by real knowledge can be obtained from a person who is perfect in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. Or spiritual knowledge means it's also about absolute truth. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all nescience as the sun drives away darkness. Yeah. So here the comparison is also given with sunshine. So when sun rises, so the darkness that is due to night. So in the night, we cannot see things clearly because there is darkness. So that darkness is also cleared and it reveals the different things. So similarly, this Atma Gyan and this connection with spiritual master, it clears up the nescience, like misidentification with body, with the world, and it makes us understand the absolute truth, like Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavad. Okay. So first there is information, but through practice, so then purification and then practice happens. So with practice comes purification. Then one can get that realization. Then Prabhupada is talking about the qualifications of spiritual master here. A representative of God never claims that he is God, although he is paid all the respect ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn the distinction between God and the living entity. Lord Sri Krishna therefore stated in the second chapter 2.12 that every living being is individual and that the Lord also is individual. They were all individuals in the past, they are individuals at present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future even after liberation. At night, we see everything as one in the darkness, but in daytime, when the sun is up, we see everything in its real identity. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. So, means how we are different than Krishna, from Krishna, and who is Krishna and who are we. Atma and Paramatma, and how Atma is not equal to Paramatma, how Paramatma is different from Atma. So these three elements. So this is yes, Mata, you have some question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, a humble request. Can you focus more on this statement of identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. So here basically it means that so we should identify who are we, our real identity. Then we should also see that individuality means we are individual. We are not going to become God. So that is what. So that is what Prabhupada is indicating. So that is real knowledge. No? So if one considers they are Atma, but still if they have that mistaken conception that they are one with God, so then it is false knowledge. So if that makes it again a false knowledge. So that yeah.
I was thinking that my conception may be wrong, that with individuality, that's Prabhupada here means that as per our one and ashrama, like Grihastas, we are Grihastas, you being a Brahmachari. So our identification with in material world, our identification in spiritual world, we are identified, we are soul only. So identification as per our varna and ashrama, will that detect that will give us realization, different realization?
No. Means see, even if one may be following varnashrama, like they have all that varna and all, but they may not. It may not help them to become spiritual. So goodness means what? Following the Vedic rules properly means following varna and ashrama. but that will not, that itself will not, help one to advance spiritually. So bhakti is not dependent on varnashrama. Varnashrama may support bhakti, but bhakti is not dependent on varnashrama. So that is there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. You'll study this more in NOD. Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So now in the next verse, Krishna is describing further the consciousness, how the endeavor means how the Nishkama Karma Yogi endeavors with full absorption in absolute truth. So initially in this verse, the description is about knowledge. Now further, the description is about means with all, it's a complete endeavor, means it's a wholesome endeavor, we can say. Yeah. Okay, so we will recite the verse. Tad buddhayastad atmanas tannishta tat parayana
तद्बुद्धयस्तत् आत्मानस्तन्निष्ठतः परायणः
gachanti apunaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmasha.
गच्छन्ति अपुनरावृत्तिं ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषा.
Okay. So, okay, the translation is, when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuse are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and then proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So it is Tad Buddhi. Tad Buddhi means one is cleared of misconceptions about Paramatma's qualities like justice. So in the first verse we talked, means Krishna told about how Krishna is always just. He is not partial. He is always impartial. So like these conceptions are cleared, thoroughly they are cleared. So if that so that is that is intelligence, means purified intelligence. Then tad atmana means one is meditating on the Paramatma's qualities. So yeah, for a karma yogi it can mean how Paramatma is supplying everything, and how Paramatma also supplied Vedas, because of which one is getting liberated. So that way. And Tannishta means one has made the absolute truth as their goal. So they want to attain the either Brahman or Vaikuntha, or these kind of things, or liberation of Vaikuntha. So that is Tannishta. So they have made it as their goal. It's not just for so their practice of spirituality. So they are like sadhakas, means they have decided, we will follow this path, and this is our goal. It's not there out of inquisitiveness or for some material reasons they are practicing spirituality. They have made it as their goal. Tannishta. Then tat parayana. So then one is following the process also properly, like is completely surrendered to Paramatma in devotion. So that's what he accepts Paramatma, and he does that bhakti to Paramatma, so which is an element in karma yoga apart from his prescribed duties. So then he is apunar avrutti, so he will not come back. So this is he attains the path of liberation. Okay, so let's read what Prabhupada says. Paratattva means the supreme reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So this is from Bhagavatam. So that Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shabdyate. So that verse. There is nothing more than that. The Lord says, Matta Partaram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. Impersonal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmano hi Pratishta. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality. One whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuse are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings. Yeah. So the result of this kind of wholesome endeavor in the path of karma yoga or all bhakti yoga is jnana nirdhuta kalmasha, means he will be freed, he will be cleansed of all the sinful actions. Yeah, let me complete explaining purpose, then we can take question. Then a Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity and individuality in Krishna, and equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. So in the earlier verse, Krishna talked about knowledge, and in this verse, Krishna talked about the endeavor. So that is like applying the knowledge in practice. Yes, Prabhu, Kishore Madhav.
Probably mind intelligence phase understood. What does mean by refugee, or any example by that?
Refugee means dedicating life, means dedicating time, life, body, mind, words. Dedicating our time, yeah. Praner Arther Diya. Using our intelligence and using our words and using our body. And our resources, can say money.
Does it also mean surrendering?
Yeah, that is surrender.
Okay.
Yeah, so even in Bhakti, while practicing Bhakti also, one can check what is the status of intelligence, how much is it cleared of misconceptions, or are there more misconceptions? And Atmana, so mind, how much is it absorbed in meditating on Krishna? It's a little difficult, at least we can say how much is it attentive in the process of hearing and chanting. And meditating needs considerable purification to meditate or not to remember. Yeah. Tanishta means how much is the goal, like so what our desires, we can see what are the desires, how much spiritual desires we have, or how many, or are there many more material desires still. Then Tatparayana, it's a surrender. Practically, one can see how much time we are spending and how much energy we are giving, all these things. Now, now, uh, now Krishna is telling how he will see the world, like one who has this knowledge and one who's applying that knowledge in life. So how he's going to see the things in the world. Okay, this is also a famous verse. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani Gavihastini
विद्याविनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिने
Suni Chaiva Swapake Cha Pandita Samadarshina.
शुनि चैव स्वपाके च पंडिता समदर्शिना.
Okay, so the translation of Prabhupada is the humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, outcast. So this is the translation from Baldev Vidyabhushan. Those who are beyond the gunas have no desire to see any object made of the gunas in comparative terms of better or worse. They have equal vision. So they don't see the material things like, okay, this is means that is not their focus. This material external things. So they see things from a spiritual view. So the brahmanas and cows, they are in the brahmanas and cows are in mode of goodness, and the elephant, Brahmani Gavi is in passion. Brahmani Gavi Hastini is in passion, and Sunicheva Swapakecha, the dogs and dog eaters are in ignorance. So they don't, that is not their focus, seeing them as, okay, this is inferior, this is superior at external level. Being learned, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, they see equally. Means what is that equal? Means that they are beyond the gunas, so that they don't see the particular distinctions due to the gunas. They have to ability to see Brahman, which is beyond the gunas. So they see everyone as Atma. So that's what. So this is Atma, means this, and Atma is covered by subtle body. They may have many conditionings. Somebody may behave maybe hot tempered. Somebody may be very passionate, or gross body also they may have many imperfections. Somebody may not be so clean, somebody may look ugly, somebody may look very short. So all these things may be there. But they first see them as they are, in connection with Krishna, or in connection with the absolute truth. They say in relation with Paramatma. They see them as Atmas, as a spiritual being, and in relation with the absolute truth, basically. Okay, so we'll see the Prabhupada's purport. A Krishna conscious person, Brahman realized person, does not make any distinction between species or caste. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme, for the Supreme Lord by his plenary portion as Paramatma is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend. As a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma regardless of the circumstance of the living entities. Yeah, so Paramatma always stays impartial while avoiding the results of one's actions, but also Paramatma provides the necessary facility also to get liberated from the material world in form of Vedic literature and also in form of the different saints, spiritual saints. So that way he is also a friend. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahmana, although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and super soul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the super soul, however, do not make them equal in quantity. For the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. So this is again the difference, oneness and difference. A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this and therefore is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and the super soul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the super soul is conscious of all bodies. So this you will study in also in the 13th chapter, the difference between Kshetra and Kshetragna. So there, this is described a little more elaborately. The super soul is present in all bodies without distinction. So here there is equal vision, but it is based on spiritual vision, not based on some nationality or humanity or religion. So I will see, if one says I will, so for all Indians are equal to me, but that is based on a nationality. Again, it is based on an external thing, not on the spiritual identity as Atma. So then one may be nicely disposed to Indians, but one may hate people of other countries. So that again, and that will create bondage. So that will happen. Again, religious identities also, Hindus, Muslims. So one may not, among Hindus, one may act very impartially and all. He may not have considerations of family and all. But with others, again, with let's say some people of other caste, one may act in a selfish way. So, okay. So these are, three questions. Maybe you can spend maybe around 5 minutes and you can think. So now there is this Gandhi has this concept called, or maybe we'll discuss, that is better than taking time. Yeah. So this Harijan concept, Gandhi has told, calling Dalits as Harijans, so that they will be treated equally. So what is wrong with that? Anyone like to answer? Okay, so I'll tell you. It's little maybe not so long. So Gandhi has made that, means Gandhi's intention is to uh, for the sake of nationalism, he wants to unite the country. So for that, he tried to use spiritual knowledge, but he should give that spiritual training so that one really becomes no Harijan, means. So just for a material purpose, he tried to use spiritual knowledge, but without giving spirituality. Like Prabhupada also commented on Gandhi that. So this equal vision, it comes as an output of the previous two things, that of the spiritual knowledge. One has to get that spiritual knowledge, and then one has to practice it. Yeah? Tad atma, tad buddhi, tad nishta, tad parayana. So then he will become jnana nirduta kalmasha. So then one will develop this vidya. So without that, Gandhi himself was not at that platform so much, and so he artificially tried to make this Harijan, but without bringing Hari in picture. So that's wrong with it. And okay, what is wrong with communism? Communism also speaks about equality and all. Is it same as this, or what is difference between that? Anyone would like to try this? Okay, so
Prabhuji, can I
communism.
try?
Yes.
Communism here, again, although the communism thinks that they are doing favor or they are doing some good for the certain community, but again, they are making the separation from one community to another community, and they create differences between the two communities by being a communist or communism.
Okay, in one sense, you're correct. Yeah, so yeah, it is based on material thing. But look, yes, bro, Yamuna Vilas, bro, you want to try?
Yeah, Proj, like communist country or communist society, like they try to distribute the resources equally. They neglect the ownership that from where these resources are coming. So they are actually thieves in one sense, because they are trying to create that equal vision and sharing everything equally, but they are neglecting from where it is coming. I mean, they are neglecting the origin of everything.
Good. So yes, so it is not based on spirituality. So it's on external. They are trying to bring artificially equality in a external way. So, but this the equality has to be brought in spiritual way. So that they have missed out. Yes, bro, Kishore Madhapur, you want to add something?
Yeah, similarly like that. See, like when they are not practicing Varnashram, if they would have been practicing Varnashram, then even within the community of communism, there could be people with varied intelligence and skill sets, basically.
Yes. So actually, material equality is not possible, because materially there will be differences, because people are doing different karmas, so they will be born with different abilities, means abilities of different types and abilities in different in quantity. So you cannot artificially bring equality also. Yes. So yes. So this spiritual vision, it should be done, means it should be followed with respect to with respect to following Vedic knowledge, not against the Vedic knowledge. So one sees like how everyone, means first seeing something from a spiritual vision means, so one should see like first how, so one will not act in a sense gratificatory way. So one sees any a person or an animal, one should not first see it as an for his own selfish enjoyment, how I can extract some benefit from it, and then sees it like how I can contribute for his spiritual elevation. Yeah. So one may see a person and one may see a dog, but they both are spiritual, but one will deal in a different way with different things. Like for the person, we can, because he has that intelligence, we can try to present about spiritual knowledge and all. But for the dog, okay, you may chant Hare Krishna in the ear or offer prasada. The external dealings will be different, but seeing the vision means we should see from this perspective. Yeah. Yes, Deepali Mataji, have some question.
Prabhu, I don't understand the concept Harijan.
Okay.
In one lecture, Prabhupada says that one should first become Harijanas. So
we should become first Harijans. What is
yes.
it? Yeah,
I
so
don't I'm not able to recall the whole thing, but he has told this. At that time also, I didn't understand what is Harijan concept.
Okay. Yeah, Harijan means it's like referring to the people of God. Means it refers to devotees or Vaishnavas. So this concept was misused or not properly used by Gandhi during the. So he wants to unite all the people of India, and that time the Dalits means who are treated as untouchable classes means. But so Gandhi, in order to unite them, he just named them as Harijans instead of Dalits, so that if the name is changed, then he thought that if we just change the name, so that then the other people will stop seeing them as untouchables and will also start developing a proper attitude towards them, and they can unitedly work for nationalist cause. So that is his consciousness, means that is his purpose. So because of that purpose, so what is mistake with Gandhi is he, for a material reason, he used the spiritual concept, but the spiritual concept is meant for elevating everyone spiritually, means providing the facility for practicing spirituality to everyone, so that everyone gets elevated and they see each other from the perspective of as Atma, and from the perspective of Krishna, and work together. So that's what. So that is Varnashram actually, means everyone understands that Vishnu is the supreme God, and he has given us different abilities as per our different karmas, and so they will unitedly follow the rules and regulations given by Vishnu in form of Vedas, and for each other spiritual elevation they will each contribute in whatever way they can. That, yeah. Now is it clear?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so yeah, means this seeing the material differences and all, it's a little means this is a common material tendency. So and even after coming to devotional service, it creates challenges sometimes. So maybe you can take some. So anyone wants to share like how we can overcome this tendency? Yes, Praj, you can. Yes, Kishore Madhav, you can.
Yeah. Again, like said as earlier, by practicing Varnashram in a true spirit.
Practicing Varnashram.
Yeah.
Means, what do you mean by practicing Varnashram?
See, practicing for life based on Vedic scriptures, like Brahman, Kshatriya, and likewise.
Yeah, but okay, so that's said a collective way, but from an individual perspective, what we can do?
Haribol.
Yes, Mata, you can.
Prabhuji, by considering every individuality has a Paramatma residing in his heart. So if we practice in that way, then we can have equanimity. Like we can treat others equally.
Okay. Yes. So one is reminding ourselves of this knowledge, and not trying our best to practice it. And also another is by practicing Vaishnava culture or Vaishnava etiquette, strictly. So yeah, Vaishnava etiquette you will read in, you must also be knowing, but you will also read in NOD and also to some extent in NOI. So if we follow the Vaishnava etiquette, means everyone is a Vaishnava, so we should offer respect to everyone or we should serve everyone. So then that habit of seeing people on an, judging people on an external basis. He's rich, he's poor, or he's educated, he's not educated. So this kind of tendency will slowly, that can also help. And or he's black, he's white, so that also may go away slowly. It takes time, but that can also help, following Vaishnava etiquette strictly. Yeah, anyone else wants to share something?
And also, Prabhuji, we can remind ourselves that I'm only the servant of every living entity.
Yes,
every
yes. Yeah. So another is, so the basic, fundamental means,
because
correct.
so when we will practice this very humbly, also I am not qualified to say this, but what seniors have told, that I am sharing, that when we will consider ourselves at the lower stage as a servant only of every living entity, then it becomes very easy to tolerate the differences.
Yes. Good. So, so the main purpose of this material comparison and material thing is, we want to keep ourselves above and everyone below. So that is the root of the of this tendency. So if we act against that by trying to become humble or practicing humility, so then also that helps. Yes, Sri Ganga Putapur, want to share something?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Roji, actually, the best way to bring equanimity amongst people is by educating, by giving knowledge about Atma, what Prabhupada has given actually. That's how Prabhupada was united everyone in one umbrella.
Yes. So
like
yes.
Yes,
please.
In the case of Gandhi, he was just given the name of Harijan. But instead of just giving name, he could have educated peoples.
Correct.
That could have made different impact.
Yes. So it, in a collective sense, it is correct. Like, means even at a family level, or let's say in a collection of relatives and all. So real unity comes by Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if it is a material relationship, there may be ups and downs and all that. Correct. Thank you. Yes, Prasanna Gopal.
Prabhuji, actually, we can practice by giving respect to individuality of everyone, rather than enforcing our own opinion or one's group's opinion on certain individual or group of individuals. So that will stop the differences, and then the equanimity can build up. And of course, we should not support each and everything, but we cannot expect also from others to follow whatever we are saying, although it may be right also. So the respecting individuality of everyone is important. And then of course we can humbly tell about the right thing, whatever Krishna conscious right things. And whether they accept or not accept, of course Krishna also never forces on anyone. So similarly, we are not we also from individual, from our side, we should not force on anyone that you should do this way only.
Yes. Nice. Thank you. Okay, so now Krishna is in the next shloka. Krishna is telling, if one acts with this equal vision, so what is the benefit? So okay, we will recite the shloka. Ihaivater jitasargo esham samye sitam mana.
इहेव तैर्जितसर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितः मनः
Nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te stita.
निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थितः.
So he is acting like Brahman, means, or in one sense, he is acting like the absolute truth who acts impartially. So if one also sees in that spiritual vision, so then he will also attain that destination. Means the spiritual world. Either it can be Brahmajyoti or Vaikuntha or Golok. The translation, okay. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Samam nirdosham, so they are nirdosham, so they become flawless. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. Yeah, this is one of the signs of self-realization, equanimity. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. So once Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, in his initial days, when he was a brahmachari as Ghanashyam Das, so because he was in a, apparently in a, he was externally in a African American body, so which is black. So that time also, now also in some way it is there in America, that discrimination against blacks. So even in the devotees, means in the temple, there are devotees who are white bodied, and also they treated him in some way, in somewhat in that. So he felt bad. So he was frustrated, and he thought, no, he should leave Krishna consciousness. So he thought, at least once he will again meet Prabhupada, and then he will again go. So he met Prabhupada, and he told, no, this is what is happening, and I want to leave. So then Prabhupada told, see, they may be doing it because they are not advanced, they are not mature, they have not understood this knowledge and all. But you have understood this knowledge, so why you are getting affected? So then then Maharaj could understand it, and then Maharaj tried to take that insults or whatever is happening with him in from a spiritual perspective, and he tried to tolerate by the blessings of Prabhupada. Okay. As long as one identifies with this body is considered a conditioned soul, but as soon as he elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. Yeah, so now Krishna is summarizing, means giving different kind of symptoms of the consciousness. So earlier, around 3 aspects of the Nishkama Karma Yoga are spoken. One is knowledge, another is the practice, tad nishta, tad atmana, tad buddhaya, tad parayana. And the third is the equal vision. So then the fourth benefit is spoken, that he will attain liberation. He will attain Brahman. Okay. So now further symptoms of the self-realized person is being described here. Na prahrishyet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam.
न पश्येत प्रियं प्राप्यं नो द्विजेत प्राप्य च प्रियम्
Sthira buddhir asammudho brahmavid brahmani sthita.
स्थिरबुद्धिर् असम्मूढो ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः.
So a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. The symptoms of a self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. This steadiness of mind is called sthira buddhi or self-intelligence. Yeah. Okay, so one may get if let's say opulent prasad, one may become joyful. If one is seeing that as an external food, and if it is a normal prasad, one may not be so enthusiastic. But if one sees it initially or no more prominently on a spiritual way, so this is the mercy of the Lord, these are the divine remnants of the Lord, these are meant for spiritual purification but not for enjoyment. So if that consciousness is more prominent, then one sees both, in the same way. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self-realization. So steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Okay. Yeah. So can you give some examples from Prabhupada's life where Prabhupada demonstrated this principle? Means he did not become too excited when getting something external, pleasant, some success or whatever you call, and he did not become very frustrated when there is failure. Some instances, maybe 2, 3, you can tell. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu, he in the initial days, while in United States, he stayed with very fallen people over there, correct? And he still maintained his equanimity and aspiration to the purpose of his Guru Maharaj to spread Krishna consciousness. So he was very stable. He was very focused, though the outside situation was not conducive to him.
Okay, so we can say that earlier, so he was staying in Bowery, and it's all littered with alcohol smell and urine smell. It's not comfortable. It's not contaminating and all, unhealthy and all. But Prabhupada was focused on spiritual service to his spiritual master, and afterwards Prabhupada got very opulent temples. It's like a palace-like rooms, sometimes penthouses and all. But Prabhupada was still focused on his service. He did not became bogged up or got distracted by those comforts. Yes, Deepali Mataji, you want to share?
Yes, Prabhu, I don't remember the name of that temple, but it was very बहुत पैसे लगे थे वो बांधने में. So when successfully built हो गया, after Prabhupada एकदम simply, yeah, now you do services, and he left the place. So it showed that he was not attached to anything.
Yeah. So okay, thank you. So in New Vrindavan, so there is once they made a toilet, means with great difficulty. Means it's difficult to make toilets in that remote area. So whole night they endeavored, to make the toilet. But Prabhupada nicely he went outside for his clearing, and he was happy there. So Prabhupada was not focused on getting material comforts, something Priya and Apriya. This is Priya. He was not focused in finding. He was always saying, okay, focused on doing devotional service. So for the sake of devotional service, if some material resources have to be procured, Prabhupada is doing it. But for his own sake, for his own selfish enjoyment, he was not at all focused. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Prerna Mataji, you want to share?
Yes, Prabhuji. Two incidences. One, when Prabhupada in Grihastha life was not very much successful, as none of his kids nor her wife nor his wife
Yes.
adopted for the process of Krishna consciousness.
Mm,
But still,
good.
Prabhupada was very focused and service oriented, and he
Mm,
didn't give up. That is the first. And
mm,
second, when all the temples were established, there was a time in ISKCON where there were some wrong things were happening against even Prabhupada also. I don't remember the country where Prabhupada visited, but I have read this passage in the book of His Grace Bhurijan Prabhu, My Glorious Master, that once Prabhupada visited one temple and where he saw that his photo was kept ulta, and Prabhupada was not happy, but still Prabhupada accepted their services and humbly told them that you should respect to your spiritual master. That means, although Prabhupada has gained so much name, fame, and glory, he was very stable and focused.
Yeah.
He didn't get disturbed by all
Yes.
these situations.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Prabhupada also spoke about respecting him and all, so that the disciples and the devotees, they will make spiritual advancement. Means for that sake only, Prabhupada also corrected them if they are not serving him properly and all. It's not for his own selfish enjoyment. He did all those things. Okay. Thank you very much. So in the next verse, Krishna tells about his consciousness about so how he's able to be equiposed amidst pleasant and unpleasant circumstances, because he is very detached externally and focused internally. So that Krishna is telling in the next verse. Bahyas parsheshva asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham.
बाह्यस्पर्शेष्व असक्तात्मा विन्दति आत्मनि यत् सुखम्
Sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute.
स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखम् अक्षय अश्नुते.
Yeah. So okay, the translation is, such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. Yeah, so he is asaktatma, bahya sparsheshu asaktatma. He is not attracted to the material sense pleasure, but sukayam akshayam ashnute, means sa brahma yoga yuktatma, by being connected to the Brahman. So in that connection, he is enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates in the Sukha. Yeah. So this is a word on Sukhayam Akshayam. Akshayam Ashnute. So yeah, so the Akshay Tritiya day, so this is a verse I tried. Once I was told to write an article on that, so I connected to this verse. This is the Akshay Sukha, which Bhagavad Gita is talking about, which is spiritual happiness. Okay. So Prabhupada writing in the verse, a person in Brahma Yoga, which means Karma Yoga or Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga, is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell, and a materialist cannot work at all without this motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with great vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. Yeah, Prabhupada is here before he is giving the example of Yamunacharya. So Yamunacharya says, since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. So yeah, Prabhupada is writing, this is the test in spiritual realization. So yeah. So this is the test of spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. So to the extent one is absorbed in spiritual happiness, to that extent one will be detached from external pleasures. Even about Prahlad Maharaj also it is said in seventh canto of Bhagavatam. From the very beginning of his childhood, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childish playthings. Indeed, he gave them up altogether and remained silent and dull, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, Krishna Parirambita, it is told like, he could not understand how the world goes on, being fully absorbed in the activities of sense gratification. Okay, so uh, how he will be asakta means how he will see the things of the external world or the activities of sense gratification. How this Nishkama Karma Yogi, who is almost in the perfected stages of Nishkama Karma Yoga, how he sees the external activities of people. So that is being described in this verse. So, yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yona evate.
एहि एहि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय इव ते
आद्यन्तवन्त कौन्तेय न ते शूरमते बुधा.
आद्य अन्तवन्त कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधा.
So, this is a very important, very helpful verse. We'll try to have some discussion on that. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man do not delight in them. Okay, let me read the purport. Material sense pleasures are due to contact of the material senses, which are all temporary because the body itself is temporary. Adi Antavanta Kaunteya. A liberated soul is not interested in anything which is temporary. Na Teshu Ramate Buddha. Knowing well the joys of transcendental pleasures, how can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasure? In the Padma Purana, it is said, Ramante Yogino Anante Satyananda Chidatmani Iti Rama Pade Nasho Param Brahma Vidhiyate. Satyananda Chidatman. So the mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasure from the absolute truth, and therefore the supreme absolute, the personality of Godhead, is also called as Rama. This is the verse from Rishabdev section. Nayam deho deha bhajam loke kashtam kaman arahate vidibhujam ye. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattam yasmad shuddhet brahma saukyam tu anantam. So Brahma Saukya, the spiritual pleasure is Ananta, unlimited. My dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasure, while in this human form of life, such pleasures are available to the stool-eaters, hogs. Rather, you should undergo penances in this life by which your existence will be purified. Means the penances one has to go through while practicing devotional service. That one. And as a result, you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. Okay. Therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by sense pleasures, which are the causes of continuous material existence. Continuous material existence. So the sense pleasures lead to continuous material existence. That's why Krishna used the word dukkha yoni, means they are womb of misery. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. Okay, so I thought to have group discussion, but that will take long time. Maybe you can take around 7 minutes. These are maybe so 4 things like watching videos or watching news. Second is fashion. Fashion means having expensive clothes, all these things. And the third is gadgets and comforts. Last is it's subtle, like having social status. These are 5 aspects. So how it begins in life means it is not natural for the Atma to seek that kind of pleasure, but it is imposed either through association or through media or something, and or through advertisement, whatever. So that is like how Adi means how it begins and how it is suffering. If you can give some examples, either some contemporary thing or something what you observe or something, uh, and how it inevitably ends. It ends for everyone. Means the capacity to do that pleasure or that thing ends. And then you can try to mention some pure devotees, maybe from Bhagavatam or someone who is utterly detached from it. You want, you can even give contemporary times also. And then, though one thing is, these are integrated, means these are essential things also. Like we have to, for some aspect of life or something, like one has to watch, go through social media and all. And clothes also we have to wear, means, and gadgets also are needed to some extent. And we have to also exist in society, so for that we need to have some kind of stature also. So these things are needed, but they should not be overdone. So how one can regulate these things? These are 4 aspects. You can choose any one of the aspect or others also. So we will discuss one by one all these 5 aspects in each of the category. You can take around 7 minutes. Then after that we will discuss. I hope there are no questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Audible? Suppose you're not audible.
You are audible, Prabhuji.
No, no, Prabhuji is not audible. I think he is away.
Okay, so for each of these four things, we'll hear from one devotee. One devotee can share about all these five aspects. Okay. Ishwar Madhaprabhu, so I want to start.
Yeah, Prabhu. See, taking one like watching video news basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first how it begins in life, like observing families, friends, or peer group. Basically, that's how we start.
Yes.
The second, how it is suffering with example. Say for some low economic families, they will try to make expenses to match, so causing economic suffering. Or there could be emotional suffering also because of that. Then third one,
Emotional suffering means how?
see, suppose they are not able to get what they want, so it
Okay.
will create lot of
Okay.
bad feeling within them. Basically.
Okay, okay. So that's what. So you want to say that
Yeah,
watching different videos
yeah,
and no different news, one will develop different material desires and no
yeah,
unnecessary necessities. And
right.
because of that, it goes. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Next,
The
next.
third one, how inevitably it finds in everyone, it ends up causing strained relationships, and it ultimately takes away from Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I want to like I want to know like through this question. No, so how one has to stop that activity means one will be forced to stop that activity. So that will happen like so one will lose the ability to watch news like by old age, or if it is because of facility, of if it is because of some economic issue,
yeah,
then one may lose the resources to watch the news and all, or even to understand the news and all that, or one will get frustrated also because the same things are repeated in the news,
yeah,
the
yeah.
same thing, so that way, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, yes,
And the
yes, fourth.
fourth one is we have seen like some grahasthas and brahmacharis
Mm.
who get detached because they don't have access to, for example, TVs and like this. Right?
Good, 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 thank you.
Yeah. And the fourth one, Prabhu, which I
Mm.
wanted to say, yeah, yes.
Fifth, yes.
Fifth one, say, to regulate, we should attend a temple program Mangal Aarti. Like, as an
Mm.
example, within our
Mm.
family, we
Mm.
disposed of our TV basically last 7 years. So that
Okay.
when it is not there, then we there definitely doesn't remain any choice of seeing it.
Okay, okay. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so some other things like for professional purpose or sometimes for some service sake also, some may have to know these things, news or something. So
Yeah.
one may reserve some particular time in the week or something where a limited slot, so where one can quickly go through instead of watching videos, or they can go through text, or they can do it in laptop so that it is not that distractive as in mobile. Or yeah, or one can ask somebody who has a colleague or somebody about these things, they may just share, or yes, some things like this. That can also help. Okay. uh Bhakti Lila Mataji.
One more thing, Prabhuji, like we can fix. There are a lot of softwares available. Like for mobile, we can
Yeah,
fix
yeah.
screen time limitation, something like that,
Yes,
so
yes,
that
yes.
we are very
Mm.
focused on watching.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, which app can work
Yeah,
for how much time? Yes,
yeah,
thank you,
exactly.
thank you, thank you. Okay. Bhakti Lila Mataji, you want to share about some particular
Yes,
item?
yes, Prabhuji. Second point, the fashion.
Yes, yes.
By following the foreign culture,
Yeah,
start in our life,
yeah.
and then how it is suffering. With
Mm.
example, by
Yes,
adopting this fashion, that
yeah,
foreign culture,
yeah.
we saw that murders, then rape cases, robberies,
Okay.
and third is how it ends for everyone.
Yeah.
And one point came that they frustrated with all this
Mm.
fashion, and they
Mm.
remain unsatisfied.
Yeah.
Fourth is to see the we saw the devotee, foreign devotee. Means
Mm.
they detach, even though living in
Mm.
hippies culture,
Yeah.
that Yamuna Mataji, Saraswati
Yeah.
Mataji, that
Yes,
for
yes.
disciple, and
Yes.
fifth is some practical way. One
Mm.
can regulate it through by following the four regulative principle. One can overcome this.
Mm. Okay, okay. Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah. So yeah, how it begins in life, it becomes imposed either through entertainment industry or through association and all. And it is suffering because it takes a lot of time to select and to maintain those clothes, ornaments and all. It's expensive also. And it ends for everyone because that the beauty loses its charm once as one becomes old and all those things. And yes, pure devotees, correctly, as you said, there are many nice devotees, even though they are from Western world, they're happy with simple attire, and so that they are very good examples. Yeah. Practical ways is, that's what, to have some dignity in society, one may have to have some particular level of this clothing and all. But apart from that, means one need not unnecessarily purchase things, etc. Okay, next, Yamuna Vilas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Regarding gadgets and comforts, Prabhuji, how it
Yes,
begins is
yes,
we
yes.
see that advertisement, like especially the technological, like let us take an example of iPhone. So every year they are releasing a latest version of iPhone. Let us say this year iPhone 15 Pro Max, next year 16 Pro. So it goes on.
Yeah.
So then everyone wants that I should have that latest iPhone so that I
Yeah.
can show to people. I mean, the technology won't create much difference, but you want to show
Yeah.
that I have the latest version of
Yeah.
iPhone.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's how it begins.
Yes.
Then how it is suffering, because to get that latest gadget and all, you will, you may not have that capacity to buy, but you will use some credits and you'll take some loan. And another way it's suffering because nowadays we can see that people are so much dependent on gadgets that they don't take out time to speak to people.
Oh, yeah.
Although they are physically near, but they are apart, they are away because of not interacting. So that's one way how it's causing suffering.
Yeah.
And also spiritually it is causing suffering because we are distracted because of gadget use.
Yes, yes.
We are not cultivating spiritual knowledge. And how it ends, like these gadgets at some point of time, they become outdated.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like we are not using the previous Nokia, like the initial phone we are not using anymore.
Yeah,
So the technology and gadgets, they get outdated at some point of time.
Yes, yes.
And some pure devotees, I mean, there are I could not find any devotees using, I mean, pure devotees who were using too much of gadget. Although they used, like during Prabhupada time also, he used some latest technology, but it was for the service of the Lord. Like he used the dictaphone and many new technologies.
Yes, 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 yes.
And some practical ways on how we can regulate. Like we can use gadgets, but as long as it is helping in our Krishna consciousness, like we can use Kindle to read books where it's not possible for us to carry books. So devotees are smart. They make use of gadgets and technology, but for the service of Lord, wherever it's required. And we should not always think about, oh, I should get the latest version. Whatever version we have which is helping us in our day-to-day use, we should be satisfied with that.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. Yes, so it should be for functional purpose, but not, it should not become a fashion, or no, it should not, we should not be after the newest version, or I should have the largest number of apps in my mobile, all these things. To my knowledge, I heard Radhagovind Maharaj, he does not use phone, email or WhatsApp. So there are some devotees who also operate without any of these things. Okay, thank you. Prerna Mother, so you want to speak on the last thing?
Yes, Prabhuji. Regarding name and fame, how it begins. Whenever you get success in any field, whether it is your material life or spiritual life, you do nice services, then it begins with name and fame. Then how it is suffering with an example. A name and fame is a very subtle level of sense gratification. And our senses are like that, they demand more. Once they receive something, they will demand more. So when we get name and fame, and sometimes when we are not getting appreciation or not being getting glorified, then, as I said, that it is subtle level of sense gratification, we become frustrated.
Yeah,
Then
correct.
how inevitable it ends for everyone. It like everyone is if he is not or she is not strongly situated or transcendental to all these things. To become transcendental is not one day business and not a cup of tea of everyone. But one who is well versed and well learned in scripture, his hearing is good. Then one can understand. Oh, I'm just an object in Krishna's hand. This is only mercy of Krishna. Then one can, it ends with everyone with misery, but one can remain detached from it. Mention some pure, so how some pure devotees who are utterly detached from it. Name and fame. There are so many wonderful brahmacharis in our brahmachari ashram, like His Grace Radhisham Prabhu, you yourself, for IIT and Gaurang Prabhu. But still, Gaurang Dakshi, His Grace Gaurang Dakshi, my Shiksha Guru, His Grace Tanai Thakur Prabhu. They all are well versed, but they are too much detached from their name and fame. Like Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Swami Maharaj, he never allows, he is not very much happy when someone introduces him. There is introduction of him. So they have detached from this name and fame because they know that this is a very dangerous type of sense gratification. And mention some practical ways how we can regulate it by always remembering and warning us that this is only Krishna has awarded us as a part of his service, this name and fame. I don't deserve this, but it is Krishna's mercy.
Yes.
That way we can regulate from it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mataji. Yeah, it is suffering with examples because it's difficult to maintain. Somebody becomes number one in something, but they cannot become number one in everything. And if they want to become number one in everything, then it's a hard endeavor because some other fields they may not be good at. So they will inevitably get frustrated. And even let's say somebody is number one in some, let's say in engineering or something, but in the next year somebody else may crack the same exam with more marks than them. So it's not possible to remain always in the top in every field or all the time. So and because they also create many enemies, people become envious, they try to harm them, so that way it's a suffering. It's always anxiety and all. They will always be anxiety to protect their name, fame, and all these things. And it ends for everyone. So that's what everyone has a limitation. So it ends because someone else may become greater than them and all. So in that way it ends, or they may lose their ability also. Yeah. Yes, pure devotees have given very nice examples. Yes, it can. That's what. So for some function maybe there. That's what, like if somebody has some good credentials, that can help in reaching out to new people. Means in preaching, it may help. So sometimes one can use that, or like for cultivating some big people and all. These things can help. So we can use them, but we should be careful. We should understand that this is only meant for Krishna's service, not for our own enjoyment. Yes, thank you. So thank you very much for the participation. So material pleasures. So these are the characteristics. Adi antamanta kauntaya nateshu, and dukkha yona means there's a womb of suffering. So we can try to consciously try to see things from this perspective, so that it becomes a little bit easy more to develop detachment. Okay, so next Krishna tells, like, but though we try, but these impressions, this impressions of lust and anger, they are going to remain. Means it's not they will go away so soon. So one has to tolerate them. This is a nice verse. If one gets frustrated with the material desires, one is facing problem with them, then this is a nice verse to console oneself, that it will take time, one has to tolerate. Shaknoti haiva yasodum praksharira vimokshanath
शक्नोति हैव यशोढुं प्राप्तशरीरविमोक्षणात्
kama krododbhavam vegam sayukta sasuki naraha.
कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः.
So the translation goes like this: before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. Yeah. So, but how one can tolerate? It's based on yukta. Vegam sa yuktaha. So one who should be spiritually connected. So based on the spiritual taste, one should derive the strength to tolerate these urges, kama, krodho, ability to tolerate. And also one will remain also happy while tolerating. So sukham. Yeah. So while practicing devotional service, one may see that I am not Krishna conscious for many infinite lifetimes, and I have accumulated so much material impressions and all. And so Krishna is merciful that he is purifying me, but I am not much purified. So we are grateful for the purification which Krishna has given, and you can wait for more and more Krishna's mercy. So that way. So purport here will read. If one wants to make steady progress on the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of stomach, forces of genitals, and forces of tongue. So these are the 6 Vegas which will be discussed in NOI, first verse, Nectar of Instruction. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses and the mind is called Goswami or Swami. Such Goswamis live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of the senses. Material desires, when unsatiated, generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes, and chest become agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up this material body. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger. Yeah, so whenever they come up, so one has to try. But that endeavor should be more based on spiritual taste, spiritual attraction, spiritual inputs, not artificially trying to cover up or not to repress. So if one tries to repress artificially, then they may suddenly, like a boiling cooker, bursting, they may burst, and one may lose control on oneself and may indulge in an improper way on them. So so if one is not able to tolerate, then one needs to seek help from other devotees, and then try how to manage those things. So it's a lifelong endeavor, but with the time, the intensity and the frequency of these temptations reduce. So if one sees compared to the time when we came to Krishna consciousness and compared to now, so definitely the intensity and the frequency of the temptations have reduced. So as we practice more and more, it will reduce further. So the ability and ease of tolerance also increases. So our ability to tolerate and reject those temptations and go beyond them and ease. So all that happens also. Yeah. So yeah, Krishna is explaining in the next shloka what is that yukta, means that internal taste. So yontassuko antara ramas tatantar jyotirevaya
यो अंतर सुखो अंतरारमस अंतरा ज्योतिरेव
sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodi gacchati.
yogi brahma nirvanam adhigacchati.
So the translation is one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within. So antas sukha antararamas. So he is active and he rejoices within. Whose aim is inward is actually the perfect mystic. Tadantar jyotirevava. He's aiming within. So he is liberated at in the supreme, and ultimately he attains the supreme. Yeah, so two things. So because his focus is in the spiritual domain, so he gets that strength to tolerate those things. So he identifies his happiness and distress in the spiritual domain. So if one identifies, so a devotee becomes happy when Krishna becomes happy, or when the spiritual master becomes happy, or when the devotees become happy. And a devotee becomes sad when Krishna becomes sad, or the spiritual master becomes sad, or the Vaishnavas become sad. So that way, if the identification has shifts, so then one will not worry about the happiness and distress based on the external things. Unless one is able to release happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. So it's a factual experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called Brahma Bhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back to home. Yeah, if you see the life of Haridas Thakur, the prostitute has come to tempt him, and even Maya Devi has come to tempt him. But because he is absorbed in tasting the holy name, so his happiness is fixed in chanting the holy name. And his happiness and distress are, they are connected to the happiness and distress of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnavas. So that way he is not attached to enjoying he could tolerate that temptation, the happiness uh, that is promised with the association of the prostitute or the Maya Devi, all that. Yes. And because he tolerated it, and he went on, and ultimately he went back to Godhead, as we see in his final pastimes of Haridas Thakur. Yes. And and in the next verse, Krishna is describing how these kind of karma yogis who are very perfected, who has the right knowledge, who are purified, they can actually do the true welfare work. Labante Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya Sheena Kalmasha.
Labante Brahma Nirvanam Rishakshina Kalmasha.
Chinnadvaida Yatatmana Sarva Bhuta Hiterata.
Chinnadvaida Yatatmana Sarva Bhuta Hiterata.
Okay. The translation is those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. So they have three characteristics. They are Rushayaha, means they're spiritually focused people, Rushayaha, and Sheena Kalmashaha, they are purified, and they are Chinnadvaida, they don't have this Dvanda, so their vision is spiritual. Sarva Bhuta Hitera, so they can do Sarva Bhuta Hitera, so they can do welfare activities for people. And so then, as they keep on doing this welfare activities, and they attain the Brahman realization. So Prabhupada talks about who actually can preach. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna, the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society, the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in such first-class welfare work without being liberated in the supreme. a person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. So, yes, so temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. So the external help, it may not last long. It will not last long. Like if you feed someone, tomorrow again he becomes hungry. So that will not give, that will not ultimately help the living entity. And so one should have the right understanding. So then one can actually help in a proper way. So distributing mundane food may not help, may just feed the hunger. But if one distributes prasadam, it helps even spiritually also. So, but here no Prabhupada told that one should be liberated in order to help. But so that only pure devotees are liberated. So they are actually doing the welfare work. But they are also telling us to do, so we are just assisting them. So our preaching or something, whatever, it may not actually come into the welfare work, but we are assisting those who are doing the welfare work. We can at least consider ourselves like that. Okay, so then Lord says that he reciprocates for sure. So if one tries to tolerate, then Lord says that for sure he will attain liberation. Means he reciprocates and he does it. Kama krodha vimuktanam yatinam yata chetasam.
Kama krodha vimuktanam yatinam yata chetasam.
Abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam.
Abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam.
Yeah, the translation is, those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly enduring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Yeah. So, initially Prabhupada contrasts with Karma Yoga and Krishna consciousness. And in the last, Prabhupada tells that how the Paramatma, so if one is endeavoring sincerely, as described in the above verses, he's tolerating the urges based on the inner spiritual absorption and spiritual activities. So one will, I will reciprocate personally and I will purify him, and one will eventually attain it. So that Krishna is doing. So that Krishna is explaining. So Prabhupada is explaining that, substantiating it through a verse in Padma Purana. दर्शन ध्यान संस्पर्शेर मत्स्य कूर्म विहंगमः स्वानि अपत्यानि पुष्णन्ति तताहम अपि पद्मजा. By vision, by meditation, and by touch only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offspring. Similarly, do I also, O Padmaja. So, Lord means whoever is endeavoring for, who are practicing devotional service. So Lord also meditates on their welfare like these things, and he does, and he purifies them and he protects them. The fish brings up its offspring simply by looking at them. The tortoise brings up its offspring simply by meditation. The eggs of the tortoise are laid on land, and the tortoise meditates on the eggs while in the water. Similarly, the devotee in Krishna consciousness, although far away from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself to that abode simply by thinking of him constantly by engaging in Krishna consciousness. He does not feel the pangs of material miseries. This state of life is called Brahma Nirvana, or absence of material miseries, due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. So Lord reciprocates for sure. That's what Krishna is telling here. So sincere endeavor will bear fruit for sure. So we have seen that many devotees, they practiced and they got purified and they're advanced in the first generation, and we practice for 10, 20, 30, 30, 40, 50 years, and they are advanced. So we follow in their footsteps. Lord Krishna also will reciprocate with us, and we will also can advance gradually. Okay, so in the next verse and the next 3 verses, Krishna will describe about Jnana Yoga and the chapter comes to close. So that we will discuss in the next class. Okay. So any questions on what we have discussed today? Okay, so I'll just try to revise. So initially the activities of the Karma Yoga, Karma Yoga we discussed. Initially the verse which says Krishna is impartial in giving out the results of the karma. So that Krishna mentions, and then the knowledge, like the knowledge acts like the sun and clears up nescience and uh, reveals the knowledge of the absolute. So and then one will practice. So then one practices based on the knowledge. Tadatma, Tannishta, Tad Buddhi, Tad Parayana. So when one does that wholesome endeavor, then one does that wholesome endeavor based on that knowledge. And then one also develops that spiritual vision. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavyastam. So we saw what is actually spiritual vision and what are some misconceptions and all. Yeah. Though spiritual vision is there internally, so one externally may reciprocate accordingly. It may not be that one reciprocates equally with everyone, but one may reciprocate with a human being in a different way, with a dog in another way, like that. And so the symptoms, then Krishna summarizes the symptoms. Bahya Sparshesha Asattatma, and also then we saw how Prabhupada has displayed those symptoms of that, and he is and also through Prahlad Maharaj example also we saw. So then how this self-realized person, he sees the activities of sense gratification. Ehi samsparshaja bhava. So we discussed with some case study, with some practical examples. And then we saw like though, but the temptations of lust and anger, they remain. Means it takes time to for them to fully go away. So then so one has to persevere. So but the perseverance has to be done based on the spiritual taste. He's absorbed, his happiness and distress are connected around devotional service, Krishna and all. So with that one can tolerate those temptations. And as one endeavors with this, then one will eventually get freed. That Krishna is assuring. Prabhupada is quoting here the Padma Puran verse. Yes, Prerna Mataji, some question.
Yes, Prabhuji. I have question regarding the shloka Yehi Sansparshe Javoga. Dukh Yonayevate. Prabhu, when we learn that this is the cause, senses come in contact with the sense object, we somehow we try to practice it. That let the senses don't come in sense object, in contact with the same sense object. But still, that desire in mind, that mind part has that desire. That desire we have endeavored, but we are not able to completely suppress our desire.
Yeah.
That sense gratification. Then what to do in such a case?
Yeah. So that's what Krishna has told. So tolerate based on the spiritual taste. So we can endeavor to increase our spiritual taste. Maybe doing more quality service, quality sadhana, or doing it in more quantity. So the desires, so these material temptations, they are replaced, or they are overpowered, overcrowded with spiritual desires. So then if our focus shifts, like if you can find some an interesting or a compatible engagement within devotional service, then that can also be, if mind gets easily absorbed, where mind can get a bit more easily absorbed. So then our focus will not be on, oh, I have this lust, still I have this and all. And also some prayers also can help, like for lust, the prayer of Gopinath is there, or no, Amara Jivan Sada Paperata. So these prayers can also, so in those circumstances, that those prayers can help us to connect to Krishna and see Krishna's help, rather get frustrated or dejected or comparing with others. So those things can help and it takes time. So that's what we have examples of those who have overcome that. So that way we can go on with it. Okay, I hope it helps.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So thank you very much for your nice participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpa tarubhyasya vikas indhu Vishnu Hare Krishna.